I'm James Hood. I'm 19 and studying film, television, and digital production at Bath Spa University. I wanted to be Spielberg when I was really young. I wanted to make epic films, massive films that everyone would talk about or everyone would instantly know, like really iconic kind of films. Spielberg to me was a massive inspiration as a kid. I used to watch Godzilla literally day in and day out all the time as a child. I think kind of like B-movie horror overall was kind of like a big thing for me because I went from Godra to King Kong, and then from King Kong to Gamera. Godzilla as a whole though stuck with me throughout the large majority of my career right now, and I still always refer back to it whenever I want to, in terms of sometimes if I think, like, why do I do this? And then I remember it's like, that's why, magic movie making at its best kind of thing. My father wasn't very supporting of it, just because he didn't know that much about the film industry himself. It was more just myself, really, to just believe in myself and support myself to go along in the way. The thing that does really support me, though, is the people you meet along the way that also share that enthusiasm with you, really. That helps you kind of carry on wanting to carry out the dream. Film is able to teach you the messages that potentially a lot of other mediums can't. Films are also able to get a certain message out there that maybe has been shrouded in the cluster of information that gets produced on a daily basis. Films are able to implement those stories that you may see and kind of like summarize in a sentence, and they're able to make an entire film out of it. You should never focus too much on how well everyone else is doing. You should only ever focus on what you want to do. Because if you focus on what you want to do, then you can make that specific project as best as it can possibly be. And the only way you can keep, having confidence in yourself is that if you keep trying to make everything that you do as good as it can possibly be.
I'm Rob Ellis. I'm 25. I'm from Weston-super-Mare, and currently I am part-time at a supermarket, but I'm getting all the equipment I need to become a filmmaker / photographer. Now I just film mainly for the love of doing it at the moment, but I do want to make a career out of it at some point, and I'm hoping the more I do, the more opportunities will arise, and then I'll hopefully be able to pursue it as a career at some point. I've never had anyone been unsupportive of what I want to do. I guess I just surround myself with the right people, but obviously I myself have had doubts about doing it, because sometimes it just seems like things are just never going to work out. But I think as long as you keep doing it and you keep putting the effort in, I think eventually you will get something out of it, and hopefully I can get some sort of career out of it. I used to have a little Game Boy camera which I would plug into my SNES, which I would plug into my TV and then record with on-screen recording on the VCR. And that's when I started filming stuff and getting really into it. I think filmmaking and filmmakers are important because it's a form of art, basically. You can communicate ideas, positive or negative, to a wide variety of people, because everyone watches films, obviously there's films that are just mindless action, but there's other films that try to convey a message, really important message to people, that they can take on board easier because they're watching it in the format of film, and it's more emotional. It's just a really good way to get through to people about certain things and feelings and life in general, things like that. I think it's a very important tool.
My name is David Croxton. I'm co-founder and executive chairman of Aardman Animations here in Bristol. I was intrigued, I think, by the process of filmmaking. I say my father was a documentary filmmaker for the BBC, doing quite high-level sort of theological programs. But the process intrigued me, and occasionally I'd go up and he'd be doing, a sound mix or something like that. I say the photography side was the most intriguing. So that was, I guess, part of my inspiration. These big films like, I say, Lawrence of Arabia were also inspirational. And then the idea that you could do a lot of it yourself, you didn't need a big crew. So when I met Peter Lord, who I met at school, at the secondary school, grammar school, we started playing around. My father had a clockwork wind-up Bolex camera, very versatile camera that can do, shoot cine film, and you could do stop frame on it. And we just started playing around with that one Easter holiday. And what was fun was that, the two of us, you could get an effect, you can get results without having to have a whole kind of film crew. And I think then we sort of realised you can create these little worlds, and you can create characters and put life into them. And you didn't have to have a full crew, actors, sound people. You could do an awful lot of it yourself. And that, I think, became, in a way, the fun of it all. It was like a hobby. It was just a fun type hobby, which, in the days when black and white photography, you could see the images come up in a developing dish. Again, with animation, you had to send the film off to the lab. You didn't see anything of what you were doing as you were doing it. You waited, in our case, probably about a week or so. So it was quite magical when it came back and all these things were leaping about on screen. School, when we were doing these little sequences for Vision On, I remember the headmaster called us into his office and sort of gave us a bit of a dressing down because he thought we were kind of going to end up in the gutter. The media industries or the creative industries, that term wasn't even invented in the 60s. It was quite hard. In fact, the careers evenings were basically, the services, the professions, lawyers, accountants, banking, teaching. Nobody at grammar school really knew anything about how you might get into theatre or how you might become a journalist or how you might get into television or film. It just wasn't on their radar at all. There are quite big stories you can tell, and they're worlds that you can create, and it does go across the world. I mean, Shaun the Sheep, has no language in it whatsoever, and that's sold to 170 countries worldwide. So film in general, it is a universal sort of medium, and you can tell quite big stories with it. And I guess, they reach people. There's a network. I don't think when we set out, we said, we're going to do important stuff, we're going to make animated films. No, I think we thought, let's see what we can do, see if we can make it work.